terms of the trip to Oman,
we did many trips to Oman.
the trip we did together, what would be your high point from that?
I can't really remember much apart from just being on the road trip.
Shall we just listen to 5 minutes of her telling us about her wonderful trip to Salalah and Musandam and how they're all really, really great. But then she came and spent a weekend with me and I can't remember much.
I can't remember much.
Thanks, I love you too. You know today's my birthday. Remember that, don't you?
No, I can't remember because there wasn't like specific activities, right?
It was your favourite thing. It was a road trip. We got in the car, we drove on the road.
I like being driven. This is Bantering Across Borders. I'm Sarah. This is Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony.
That sounds so dumb.
Hey, we've done this before. I think they know who we are.
Yeah. So this is series 2, part travel guide, part friendship diary. And between us, we've been to over 100 countries. And so in each episode, we share about our random road trips. We talk about our travel stories from various escapades. We may also share the odd travel tip or two on and off the beaten track, and all the while unpacking what it means for us to be friends. Still be friends after 10 years of traveling, 10 years of traveling together, or more than 10 years now, right?
12
years.
Wow, yeah, it is.
About 12 years of traveling together.
A decade.
Over a decade. And in today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the country of
Oman.
One of the hidden gems in the Middle East. We've done various trips to Oman, both together and independently. And Tony, you even...
She went without me.
Yeah, sometimes I travel without Tony.
She went without me, left me all alone. Anyway, yes, no, I lived there as well. So I did like nearly a whole year living in Oman, in Muscat, which was a fantastic experience.
And with that in mind, what's your if you had one image in mind?
Chill. Oman is chill, especially when you compare it to the hustle and bustle across the border in Dubai, in the UAE, but specifically Dubai. And when you compare it to the changes that are going on, development and everything that's happening in Saudi, chill.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. So, I mean, when we say Oman is a hidden gem, it really is. It's completely different to the rest of the GCC countries, so to the rest of the Gulf. It doesn't look like any other country. It has completely like different vibes. Yeah, it's well worth a visit, basically. If you're coming to the region, then make sure that Oman is on your list. Let's talk a little bit about Oman itself. So for those who like the geography, it's on the sort of southeasterly corner of the Arabian Peninsula. So it sort of wraps around the corner of the Arabian Peninsula and is bordered to the top by UAE, also borders Saudi, also borders Yemen to the west. And it's across the water from Iran as well. So it's about like 35 miles away from Iran. So with that in mind, kind of Oman has become sort of like the Switzerland of the region, I would say. So they're known for being sort of like quite neutral and being the...
They know how to keep their nose out of other people's business.
They're good neighbours. Yeah, they're very good neighbours, essentially. And Oman, I guess the modern day Oman was sort of established by Sultan Qaboos, and he was there for about 50 years, right? So he's a very well-respected leader. Yeah. He died in 2020, and I think his cousin took over. But during that time, he sort of established Oman as, he improved like the healthcare and the education of Oman. Before that, Oman, like many other countries, was also colonized by the Portuguese, the British. But did you know that they were also colonizers themselves, Oman?
Who would they colonize? There's only 4 of them in the country.
Well, at one time, there was more people living in Oman. No, they colonized parts of East Africa, so Zanzibar.
Oh, right, okay.
And also sort of the Dar es Salaam, Mombasa area of Kenya and Tanzania. which
Tanzania.
Tanzania.
Yes.
What do you call it? I call it Tanzania. What's the?
Well, the guy in the hotel yesterday evening, who is from Addis Ababa, said Tanzania.
Well, Addis Ababa is not in
Ethiopia.
Tanzania.
Yeah, no, but it's next door.
Right. So that means...
Actually, no, sorry. He's from Dar. The
reason I mentioned the fact that they once colonized sort of parts of East Africa is that you can really see that in the mix of people that you have in Oman.
Oh, that's
right?
true. That's true.
Because one of the big things that is, I guess, different and how Oman looks different is the people actually look different, right? So, yeah, there's a sort of a range of sort of ethnicities. There's a lot of mix of ethnicities. Mm-hmm. And when you compare it, for example, to Saudi or to the UAE, even their dress is different, right? So they, you know, in the Gulf country or in the other Gulf countries, they wear this sort of long white sort of kandura with their sort of headdress. And in Oman, they're famous for wearing the sort of, I don't know what you call it, sort of like a cap turban type thing. So that's one of the immediate visual things you see that are that's different.
There's more humility. That's the word. There's a humility to the Omanis in comparison to other countries in the GCC, is as much as I'll say.
And from a traveler's perspective,
I'll tell you the biggest thing. The biggest thing is the environment, the actual, geologically.
Yes.
I remember the first time I went to Oman was 2011, and I'd been in Dubai for a few months. And then I went to Oman and we flew in at night and went straight to that hotel and then woke up the next morning and opened the curtains and there was mountains.
Right, right.
And it was like, where did they come from?
No, exactly. So Oman is actually, you don't think of it, but Oman is mountainous, right? And,
yeah, very.
And actually, my lasting image of Oman is these chocolate brown mountains, yes. Right? Yeah. And you see it, like if you drive from Dubai, which a lot of people do, it used to be the place to go for your visa runs, actually, sort of going over the border and then sort of coming back. But if you drive from Dubai, you see the landscape sort of slowly changing. Mm-hmm. Even the sand sort of turns into sort of like this burnt orange color. Yeah. You've got these chocolate brown mountains that sort of then appear in the distance. And it's all low level as well, right? So
it's also interesting. I went to a brunch while I was there and there was a guy from Australia or New Zealand. Australia, I think it was. And I said, oh, you're a long way from home. And he said, yes, there's a reason. He said, I'm a geologist. And he said, the way that the mountains are constructed in Oman, there's only two places in the world where you see mountain ranges like that. And one is Oman and the other is in Australia. It's completely other side. It's the way that the plates have shifted and then forced their way up and overlapped. And the only two places in the world is in Oman and in Australia.
Amazing.
It was. So, ooh.
Yeah, no, and it is really like I've never seen mountains like that before. I think the other big difference is from the architecture perspective. So you don't see any skyscrapers in Oman whatsoever.
No, I don't remember seeing any.
No, it's and that's actually a rule. They have to keep it. I don't know the exact rule. I think the highest tower is about like 5 floors up, but in general, they're low level buildings. Mm-hmm. They have to be built from local resources, so local stone, and very much in the Omani like Islamic architecture. So there's nothing modern, right? I mean, there are modern buildings, as in things have been built new, but nothing is in a modern design. So it gives Oman this really sort of Arabian Nights feel, I want to say, right? It sort of feels very oldie worldy when you go there.
It's true, actually. I mean, when, like I say, living there, and my brain is doing a really, really swift run through to see. And no, you're right. I mean, I don't recall actually seeing skyscrapers. I mean, you do get big buildings, like we worked in a shopping mall.
Right.
Our offices were in the 5th floor of a shopping mall, so that was quite a substantial structure. But again, like you say, it wasn't, it wasn't big or imposing in any way. And driving to and from, and when we did our run, there was nothing. But it's very, very,
and that's by design. I think they've purposefully kept everything in keeping with the environment, so nothing clashes. So it really gives this sort of charm and serenity, and also nothing blocks the views as well, right? Wherever you are, you've just got beautiful views of the countryside.
It's lovely. Yes, so that was our trip to Oman in March. It was March 2018. You came over. I'd moved to Muscat in the February. Beginning of February actually, and so I was just trying to get my feet, and then my good buddy friend decided she'd come and visit me. Turn left. Remember that was the first time we used Waze.
Yes, that's true. Actually, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah,
that was the first time we used Waze as a navigation system.
GPS system.
Because Google Maps didn't work for some reason. It just wouldn't work at all. So someone at work introduced me to this new application called Waze, and I thought we'll try that with the extremely seductive.
We had a sexy navigator,
That made for a great drive. But anyway, so that was the plan. And I went off and I hired a vehicle from the local guy around the corner. And it was actually a decent vehicle. It wasn't like the Saudi experience.
No, exactly.
No, it was a proper vehicle. We had a big old SUV. And we just basically hit the road. With you doing the music on this, because I was doing the driving.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But we were heading sort of south, I want to say. Were we heading south? We were heading towards the coast, right?
We were heading towards the coast.
So we started off in Muscat, and then we were heading... Were we heading specifically to go and see the turtles, or was that just sort of coincidence that we found them?
No. It was the coincidental bits was on the way back, but the plan was to go to see the turtles because we'd heard that was a thing. And apparently it is a thing.
Yes.
And one day I'll go and see the turtles.
Yes.
But we'll get to that.
We saw lots of posters with turtles.
This way to them. So so we drove. I drove. And I mean, again, it was one of those things where you're just amazed by the landscape, amazed by the scenery.
It's got great roads in Oman, actually, considering like it's quite sort of a large country. And so I remember on that drive, really, really good quality roads, and then hardly any traffic, right? It's the ideal road tripping scenario. And then we took the coastal road, I think, right?
Part of it was on the coastal road, and then parts of it went up through the mountains, because you have to, which again was amazing, the way that they'd blasted their way through. And like you say, they put extremely good quality roads through.
Right.
And they drive sensibly.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
They drive very, very sensibly, which, having spent 3 years in Saudi just before moving to Oman, was
pleasant surprise.
It was a pleasant surprise, but it also made it very relaxing. I mean, it didn't make it relaxing to the point where I decided I was going to go off and buy a car and drive all the time. But it did make it relaxing so much that you felt like there's nowhere I can't go. And so it was a nice drive. And as we did, we were focused on getting to two things.
So where was it? Ras Al Haad, right?
Ras Al Haad Turtle Reserve.
Okay.
Which actually is a turtle reserve, and there's a hotel there as well, which we didn't know.
Like a resort type hotel, I think, right?
Yeah. So but we'd booked a hotel somewhere else nearby, and that was a mistake because it looked like one of those places out of a House of Horrors movie. When we got there, it was deserted, looked like an old army barracks or something, where the last guests had been there about 2 months before.
Yes,
and maybe still be in the cellar somewhere.
No, it was the kind of creepiest places. And also, just as that context, outside of Muscat, I would say most of Oman is pretty empty, right? So there's not much. There's sort of hardly any buildings. There's no malls or anything like that. So when we found this sort of creepy hotel in the middle of nowhere, and there's at night it's also like pitch black as well. It just added to the feeling that we were in a House of Horrors movie.
But we did go to the fort. If you remember, we went and sat at the fort. Beautiful scenery. We watched the sunset come down there, had a few drinks, and then the plan was to go off to see the turtles at the reserve, which we then did.
Because there was some kind of instruction that you had to turn up at some time to get a ticket
they gave
or
you
something?
they gave you time slots.
Right.
So we turned up for our time slot, and then we got there and we had to wait, and then we waited, and it was getting later and later, and we were more concerned about the fact that we're going to have to get back to the horror house in the dark. And so we waited, and then eventually that announcement came over the tannoy that because of unforeseen circumstances, only people who were staying at the reserve would be allowed to go out and see the turtles, and the rest of you, too bad. Bye-bye. There's too many people here, and there's only 4 turtles coming out tonight. and we don't want to scare them. Life is hard
so the
enough.
tip basically would be to get there not too early, but early enough in order to get your ticket.
Or to stay there.
Or to stay there, because it's a turtle reserve. But having said that, there's a lot of other facilities and features that they have there. You know, it's not everybody waiting until 10 o'clock to see the turtles do the run to the sea. And to be honest, they only actually do that at certain times of the year. Right.
So for it to be a facility that's a year-round facility, there's much more things to do there.
No, it's true. And I mean, and to be honest, it was the drive down that was the memorable thing, right? Road trip. It's a beautiful country to drive through. So what did we do after the non-turtle seeing?
I don't think we didn't go out for dinner that evening, because I don't recall there being anywhere for dinner, because we'd had drinks already at the fort, which was very, very lovely.
Yes.
Very, very lovely.
Sunset.
It was sunset.
But then we just headed basically back the next day.
Well, there wasn't a great time.
There's not much else to do. This is the thing about Oman, right?
Yeah, there's not much else to do unless you're in Muscat, or you're going to somewhere like Salalah, which you'll talk about later on. But so when we headed back, but having been disappointed by our turtle adventure, mildly disappointed, we then made the decision that every time we saw a sign to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
every time we saw a brown sign.
the longest drive back. Yeah, like following random signs just to find something.
Every time we saw a brown sign, we thought, right, we're going to go and see that. And effectively, that's what we did. I mean, I haven't got the names of all the places. I think one of them was Sur. Another one was Wadi Al. It'll come to me. But we went down to the Wadi, where they had the little boat that took you across to the other side, and then you could hike up into the mountain and go to the swimming which we didn't do.
No, I think you probably would have done, but I didn't want to be trapped in a cave or something, which was completely incorrect, because it's wadis are not caves.
They're not. I was going to use the word irrational, but
irrational is true. But that's the one thing about Oman, actually, is you get these wadis, right, which are sort of dry riverbeds, but that get water. And so in some places you can go and swim in the wadis, and they are all over the place, really. So as Tony was saying, we literally just followed sort of like the brown touristic signs and ended up finding various sort of unbelievably pretty areas to look at.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, the one thing about the wadis is you have to be careful of the flash floods. So just take care with that.
Well, so we went to Al Dakia, which was it's like an old fort, an old castle. We went there, and then, like I said, we went to Al Sur, and then we went to, I'm just trying to find the name of it now.
I think you said Shabab or something before.
Yeah, Wadi Al Shabab. Yeah. And that was the one that had the big, there was a big reservoir. That was a big reservoir there. And then you came across and jumped in a little boat that cost 1 dinar or something like that. And the guy drove Wadi Al Shab.
Al Shab, not Shabab. Before I start rumours of terrorist cells in the middle of Oman.
You have to be careful. Just as a time check, it's the 24th of June, 2025. The day after they visited Qatar. Yeah. And unexpected visitors. So we went to Wadi Al Shab and walked across there and climbed up the mountains, and that was great fun. Came across the Tropic of Cancer or Capricorn? I think it's Cancer.
I don't know.
I'm Cancer, so I think it might be me, just because that's the kind of guy I am. It's all about me.
That's always a milestone, actually, when you travel across like either the equator or the Tropic of Cancer or the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yeah.
Because I remember you also went back afterwards, like without me, to do it again.
We've been lucky, and I particularly feel I've been lucky, is that I've had the experience of seeing things that I've only ever read about.
Okay, yeah. I know what you mean.
You know, you go into the bookstore and you see the Tropic of Capricorn and it's like a best-selling novel and it's like, what is that? You know, and then you actually go there. I mean, I went to the equator with my daughter when we did our Galapagos and Machu Picchu trip, and you're actually standing on the equator.
Right.
You know, it's not just a line that goes around the world on a map. It's actually a place.
Yeah. I've done that in Uganda.
And then, you know, the Tropic of Cancer somewhere else. And, you know, these are all places. And as I said in the last episode, get out there and do it, you know, because, you know, life is short. And the world is actually very small.
Yeah. I remember it was quite a significant moment.
Yes. Actually, what was more significant about it is because the sign that they've put by the side of the road, you only see it say
yes
one way.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's just like, what did that say?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. So you have to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
for the photo.
Yeah. Insta.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we ended our trip. We ended up back in Muscat, right?
Yeah, came back to Muscat. And then that's when we went for dinner at your hotel.
Okay.
That was because we were navigated back to the hotel by, at the traffic lights, turn left.
Yeah, we had our sexy driver. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a bit about Muscat, because I think that's the capital of Oman, and is where everybody lands, essentially. There is another airport in Muscat called in Salalah. But let's tell people things to do in Muscat.
The food is fantastic. But before, as I was thinking that, in my head I was thinking, a lot of times people go out picnicking, they do barbecues, and they go, even when you go down to the beach.
Yeah, so there's a beautiful like corniche, right, in Muscat, because it's sort of on the harbour, and it's beautiful for promenading, but also, as you said, people do a lot of picnics. Yeah,
picnics and barbecues. It's a very outdoor lifestyle over there. Even in the summer when it's hot, and, you know, people go out in the evenings then, but even then it's very outdoor lifestyle. But it's not flamboyant.
No, exactly. No.
It's not flamboyant.
It's very family oriented.
Very
sort of community oriented. But the other things to do in Muscat, so Muscat itself, again, is a very sort of oldie worldy sort of town centre. It's got this amazing souk that, if you go through it, is like being in the Arabian Nights. It really has that sort of feel to it.
There's the mosque.
One of the most amazing buildings in the world is the Grand Mosque in Muscat, which has this backdrop of, again, these chocolate mountains.
That was literally just around the corner from our office, so I got to see that pretty much every day.
It's such an amazing, like, inside and outside of it. But what I particularly liked is the way that it sets itself against the backdrop. It looks like a painting, you know. It's so beautifully done. So, and as a tourist, you can go and see the mosque, right?
Yeah.
I might get the location wrong, but relatively close to the mosque, I think, is the Grand Opera. Or the Opera House.
The Opera House.
So it's not as close by.
It's not as close.
Okay, so it's not within walking distance.
No,
right?
definitely not.
But the Opera House is another, from an architectural perspective, is another nice thing to visit.
I've never been inside of the Opera House, but actually I went there quite a lot, and every time I had guests, we would actually go there, and a few of my guests had actually been to Oman to go to the opera, and so that was quite nice. But I used to go there a lot because I used to go to Caramel for drinks.
Yeah, very nice. And that's one of the other things, actually. So there are quite a lot of resorts and hotels, again, not in a flashy sort of flamboyant way, and very much within keeping of the whole environment. But a lot of the life, I think, as a sort of a tourist or an expat, you can go into these bars and onto the beach resorts as well, right?
It's not dry, but it's not Dubai wet.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, and they do brunches, and the brunches are a lot more sedate and more civilized.
Yeah.
Very
nice.
And interestingly enough, it just occurred to me then is the expat community there, I found, was a lot less, again, the word flamboyant.
Yes.
I'm still thinking through that, you know, did I interact with many expats while I was there? Not even at work, because you know, it's a very high Omani population.
So that's true. There's not as many expats there, right?
Yeah.
The local population is very
And it was
high.
quite interesting going to Dubai, which is like predominantly expat,
like
particularly when you go out.
80-90%, yeah.
And then going to Saudi, which is complete. When I went there, 2014 to 17, it was completely the opposite. You know, it was like spot the expat. And then you went to Oman, and it was kind of like, yeah, we were there, but we kind of blended in.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was really interesting.
That's actually a good word for the whole of Oman. It's like blended in. Everything is sort of kept within its own environment. It's all very natural, I think.
Yeah,
it's sort of a natural beauty. So I think the other thing to do in Muscat is also, I think there's the Al Jalili Fort. One thing I've never done, maybe you did it, but a lot of people go to Muscat for snorkeling and diving.
No.
Dolphins turn up in the bay there, so it's quite popular for that. But I can't share my own experiences because that would have been too active.
I like the sky. I'm not the big fan of the sea.
No, exactly. All right, so we talked about our trip to Ras Al Haad and back to go and see the turtles. There are two other areas I think that would be interesting for our listeners to know about. So one of them is the Musandam area. Of Oman, particularly like Kasab. Again, this is more for people who want to go on dhow boats or want to do the snorkeling. There's a place, there's really nothing there apart from sort of natural beauty. But one of the interesting things about it is it's an enclave. So it's not really within the main part of Oman, so mainland Oman, let's say. It's an enclave within the UAE because Oman used to be part of I think they call it like the Trucial states, along with the rest of the Emirates. And when they divided up, when they made the UAE and they were sort of dividing up the different areas, Oman kept, from a sort of tribal perspective, this little sort of enclave that's in the UAE. So there are parts of Oman that you drive to sort of from that are within the UAE. And it's not like there's nothing militaristic or anything about it. It's just the way it is. For people who kind of like road tripping and kind of like those quirky things, it is a sort of interesting thing to go and see. The other place is Nizwa. That's an old town. I think it's one of the oldest towns in Oman, which has a beautiful fort that you can go and see.
Yeah,
so people, me went there. Me went there too. Me went up the hill. But yeah, and I think there's a lot of sort of museums. So if you're into history and archaeology, then Nizwa would be the place to go to. Yeah. But have you ever been to Salalah? Did you go to Salalah when you were there?
No, I was due to go to Salalah one weekend, and at the beginning of the week we planned to go to Salalah, and midway through the week they got flooded. Oh, right. They got absolutely devastated with flood. I mean, it was a red alert, the whole works, and we ended up having to send out separate telecoms equipment and everything to give them emergency coverage. Wow. It was massive. It was massive. It was the first time I'd ever had, to work in that kind of an environment. But it was amazing. But because of that, I never actually went and visited Salalah as a tourist. And 8 years later, I still haven't been back.
So I've been twice. So Salalah is on the. I've been twice with other people I know, but Salalah's on the south coast, and again, it's like it's.
No, I don't hate. I don't, not at all.
There's really not much there.
I went to this place where there was nothing, and it was so great. I thought I'm going to go back here again.
Yeah, I went back to check. But it really is. It's sort of empty. And again, very sort of oldie worldy, but there are a lot of people go there for the resorts and the diving. So there's a lot of resorts along the beach. Salalah specifically is known for what they call the Khareef season, which is I think kind of the equivalent of the monsoon season. So between kind of now, like mid-June until I think the end of September. Mm-hmm. The desert essentially turns green is how they I've heard about that. Call it. Mm-hmm. So it has more rain than at any time of the years. There's mist, right? So when I went, I don't know, I was expecting it to be green but sunny, and it was green and you're in mist like the whole time. It's like,
so our Irish friends must be just wetting themselves hearing this. Can't wait, book me a ticket.
But it feels like you're going through a sort of a mist sprayer sort of like the whole time, and you see it like, so you go into the sort of like the mountain areas, and the mountains are all green, everything's sort of come to life, but then the tops of the mountains like disappear into this mist. So
beautiful.
It's a beautiful time to go. It's supposedly cooler, although it was still about 35 degrees and very, very humid. So I think it's all about context, because you get a lot of people coming over from Saudi for the Khareef season. And I guess if you're doing 50 degrees, 55 degrees of a Saudi summer, then, coming to 35 degrees in Salalah is cooler. Yeah. It does get very crowded. That's the one thing I would say, because everybody, not everybody, but there's a lot of people from the region escape their own summers and do a couple of weeks in the Khareef season in Oman. So there's lots of traffic, like any kind of major place that you want to go to, you're stuck in traffic for quite a long time. But it's worth it, right? Because literally like waterfalls come to life. The month before there wasn't a river, and now there's a river, and we're paddling in paddle boats like down the river, and we're seeing like massive waterfalls like coming through. So it's kind of magical from that perspective. You've got the guys from Saudi like in their kanduras and with their kids also doing the paddle boating, and all of the paddle boats are shaped as different birds. So it's like
Hyde Park.
Yeah, it's like a sort of amusement park, but sort of in the middle of this what was previously a desert but is now like a green forest. Yeah. So it's again sort of it has a bit of like an Alice in Wonderland feel somehow, because you've got all these sort of like giant swans and giant flamingos being pedaled by people from the region, like up and down this river. So, but it's definitely worth going to. Just take note that it is still hot. For a European, at least, it's still hot. And it costs more because everybody goes there, and you would expect to be sort of stuck in traffic. If you are going to go, I would try to time it. They have a festival there. So I would try to time it with the festival, because then there's a lot of, other activities, lots of traditional activities going on at the same time. But yeah, very cool, I would say.
In terms of the trip to Oman,
we did many trips to Oman.
The trip we did together.
Oh yeah.
The trip we did together to Oman. What would be your high point from that?
I can't really remember much apart from just being on the road trip.
So we just listened to 5 minutes of her telling us about her wonderful trip to Salalah and Musandam and how they're all really, really great. But then she came and spent a weekend with me, and I can't remember much.
I can't remember much. Because
Thanks, I love you too. Today's my birthday. Remember that, don't you?
No, I can't remember, because there wasn't like a specific activities, right?
It was your favourite thing. It was a road trip. We got in the car, we drove on the road.
I like being driven. Yeah. I like being driven, and I like looking out the windows, and I like listening to music. So for me, that was that
was just normal.
That was the perfect road trip. So.
Oh right, okay.
Your company, I guess, is what I.
She got there in the end.
It's what I remember most.
I think for me the best part of no, I won't say the best part. The most memorable parts of it was the Bates motel. That I still don't know why. It's one of these things. Is you go on TripAdvisor or you go on Booking.com or you go on any one of these websites and you see a picture of a hotel and you think, I'm going to go for that one because that looks really, really good. And I've had some absolute disasters, and I think that would be one of the top 3 disaster hotels. Because it was scary. It was scary. It was almost as bad as sleeping in the desert when we went to Djibouti.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was almost as bad as that, because we were out in the middle of nowhere, just the two of us, it felt like. And there was no one around, which, no one hears you scream.
No one hears you scream. Yeah, that was definitely a hotel that, we could have...
And we won't give the name of it because, to save any... Well, you never know. Your relatives might be buried in there.
Yeah.
That long lost
If you're missing someone, the last time you saw them was heading out of Muscat towards the coast.
Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, that to me, that was the main thing. But also the wadi.
Yes. No, to be fair, the wadis are always amazing. So,
the wadi was interesting.
And it's just beautiful. I mean, the scenery in Oman is... I could just well, obviously, if you were driving, I could just be driven around Oman, the Oman countryside for days on end. That would be my thing. One thing I did want to mention, because you mentioned the desert, is Oman is obviously like full of deserts as well. From Salalah, you can also head sort of north to what they call the empty quarter. So the empty quarter, which is the desert that starts off in Oman and then finishes off in Saudi. I
didn't know they had one there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same desert. It's just like, there's it's the Rub al Khali, right? It's the same empty quarter that you have in Saudi. It it starts on the Oman side. So the reason I mention that is that I don't think you can camp on the Saudi side of it because it's just too remote and too difficult to get to. But you can, if you get like a driver who's licensed, you can go into the desert, which I did with somebody else. I spent the night in the empty quarter, like camping in the desert.
She spent the night in the desert with somebody else. Okay, fine.
And it's amazing. Like it's really it's the things that you dream of when you're camping in the desert. It's like the sky full of stars. It's complete stillness, etc. And not at all scary.
Good. And with that was Bantering Across Borders.
Could be the last trip we ever talk about. So we've come to the end of Bantering Across Borders. If you didn't see our last episode, do tune in because we talk about a 48-hour trip to Uzbekistan, which also a very recent trip that we did. And then our next episode is going to be a bit different because we're going to be sharing kind of tips, tricks, insights about our lives as essentially lifelong expats, right? So both of us have lived outside of our home countries for over 20 years. And so we've been asked to share kind of our insights, what we wish we would have known, like at the beginning when we left, that would be useful for other people. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. So do tune in for that.
Just so people understand, an expat is an economic migrant.
Yes.
With a degree.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're all immigrants, right?
Yeah, we're all immigrants.
We're all immigrants. Excellent. So now off to your birthday dinner.
Lunch,
yes. Yeah. We couldn't afford dinner. All right. Thank you.
Cheers.
Nice spending time with you.
Always.